Welcome on a new episode of our monthly report on the farmlet trial here at our research facility in Elliott. Last time when we were here it was under very wet conditions. The paddocks were wet, some pugging damage that continued well into October, past mid-October. But at that point the weather suddenly dried up. Under the conditions of this time of the year, the evapotranspiration is about 20-25 mil per week. And that is also our readily available water. So a week after the last rain, the soil already needs more moisture, and we do that through irrigation. This farmlet trial uses a solid set system for irrigation, and we started it up about a week ago. This is of course Tasmania, and today is a showery day with a fair bit of wind, as you can see, and it is bringing some rains. Especially tomorrow we're expecting some rain, so the irrigation isn't going today to leave a bit of space in the soil for the rain that is coming up. Irrigation is important for this trial. It's fully irrigated, so we try to schedule it as good as possible to maintain pasture production at the levels where we are aiming for. What you also can see is that the grass and the clover is on itself growing well. We have our nitrogen treatments as they are. One treatment conventional, 2 treatments half, and then 1 treatment with 0 nitrogen. Apart from the nitrogen, the paddocks also need some additional fertilizers such as phosphorus and potassium and the like. For that we do an annual soil sample analysis, and that determines how much maintenance fertilizer we have to apply for a year. As soon as the paddocks dried out, we did our first maintenance fertilizer run for this year. The amount of maintenance fertilizer that we want to apply for this year has been divided in 3 portions, and the first portion has been applied late October when the paddocks had dried out sufficient. The other 2 are for later in the year. In that way we want to replace all nutrients that we export through milk, and maybe if there's a surplus of silage and the like. For our farmlet trial, the amount of rainfall that we have had over a very long period of time, basically from calving onwards, we have had rain until mid-October. That resulted in the paddocks being wet all the time, and the cows not being able to graze in the paddocks the amount of grass that they wanted to graze. For the milk production, that has consequences. Coming out of calving, the cows went to a peak of about 2.65 kilos of milk solids. Keeping in mind there's no heifers in our farmlet herds. Because of the wetness, they dropped to 2.55, and under the worst conditions, on the 10th of October we had a huge storm going over Tasmania. They went down to about 2.45 or so, and they have been coming back to about 2.55, and we have to wait and see how far they bounce back if the conditions are okay. They were recovering okay. We will have, as it is happening now when it's predicted again, periods where we have a few days of high rainfall. If they get through these days quite well, we hope that they recover a bit more, but ultimately that is what happens in real life too. The conditions are as they are in a grazing system. That can have an impact on cow production. And of course, this time of the year is also when mating starts. For our farm, that mating start date is normally late October. This year it was the 28th of October, and for the cows in our farmlet herds, on mating date we had about 95% of the cows cycling. So we are quite okay with that percentage. The farm uses a bit of a mixture of natural cycling and synchronizing, but ultimately with no heifers in the farmlet cows, we are happy with the 95% we achieved. As you can see here in this paddock, there is a fair bit of variation in what's in the paddock. We have clover, we have grass. This is a paddock farmlet 3 with half the amount of nitrogen applied, so you will see mostly ryegrass here and clover. And my colleague Zach, whom you saw last time, he is investigating when cows go into a paddock and there's a certain amount of ryegrass and clover is available, if that is eaten in equal amounts. And we are expecting the cows to preferentially graze the clover and maybe a little bit less grass, and we are investigating that, trying to collect evidence how much difference it is if indeed they eat a little bit more clover compared to the grasses, relative to the grasses that we have. And we will report on that going forward. And for me it's a very exciting thing to know more about when there is a certain amount of clover in the paddock, if in some farmlets the cows might eat more of that clover than in other farmlets.